Hey, coming to you from the Kettle One studio. Welcome to Where Music Meets the Soul. I have I can honestly say this, one of my really good friends and the lead from Pablo Cruz, Cory Lerios. Lerios.
Okay, so let me help you because you're my good friend.
Right.
It's Pablo Cruz, Cory Lerios.
Pablo Cruz, Cory Lerios.
Just for you people that are out there listening.
And those are the people, because I know them so well, I don't think I've ever used your last name before because people forget that we work out in the gym in the morning.
It's just me going by, hey, Lance.
And knowing that your wife is obviously your better half.
I will not dispute that.
And you guys have been married for 43 years.
Yeah, going on 45.
And you have
44 going on, this.
You're going on 45 too. So and then you have 3 kids.
3 boys.
And they're all married right now?
All married within the last 9 months.
Do you have any grandkids yet?
I have one little grandbaby girl.
Wow.
She's only 5 weeks old.
Wow. You've had a lot of stuff going on.
You're not kidding.
Yeah,
I had to write 3 wedding speeches inside of 9 months. It was tough.
So all 3 kids got married within 9 months?
Yeah, Michael, you know all of them.
Right.
Michael got married in December. Andrew got married in February. And then Dimitri got married this weekend.
Wow, that's amazing. I heard about all the weddings, and so we work out every morning, and as long as Irma lets us in the building, and Vishwa comes in a little bit later,
right?
And then we have Frank, and then we have our house lawyer Ron,
right?
Who every morning he tells us everything going on, and Frank and then Irma will tell us everything going on.
He's in there at 5 in the morning as soon as the place opens.
I didn't believe him until my wife Karen was out of town. She was in London. So when I would come in, I had nothing to do. So I'd wake up and come in at 5 in the morning, and he is there.
Yeah, that's good.
So a lot of people don't know, which I know, is you personally did a lot of work writing themes for small little companies like CBS, DirecTV, Baywatch, Days of Our Lives.
Yeah. Got an Emmy for that.
How did you get into doing that?
Well, that's a good question. But the deal was that I got married and went out on one tour. Marie and I got married in 1982, and I went out and we were still touring in the bus and the whole thing. And it was a toss-up. It was like either I'm going to be married, because every night's New Year's Eve on the road back then, and it was
right,
or I'm going to try to figure out how to continue to write music and not have to tour and not go on the road. So in the mid '80s, I got off the road completely, and
that's when you got into doing that.
Yeah, my first TV show was a show called Max Headroom on ABC.
I remember Max Headroom.
Yeah, it was a brilliant show, and I got a great agent, and the rest was just kept coming at me. So.
And the one that paid you probably the least was my favorite show ever, A Land Before Time.
Actually, yeah, I loved working on that, man. I loved writing to those little dinosaurs.
Well, the amazing thing is when you see that stuff today, you realize, and now we complain about AI. We can tell the difference in AI. We used to watch cartoons.
Yeah, real cartoons.
Was that claymation?
No.
It was cartoons?
Those were cartoons, yeah.
Unbelievable.
That was a very famous show, but animation was a lot of fun to write to. But the one that really was the best to write to was, because I wrote the themes for a lot of these shows, but I wrote the underscore. Right. So Baywatch, I scored that for we did almost 300 shows.
Really?
Yeah. It was a grind. I mean, it was once every week it kept coming at you. But,
and your son, I know at least a couple of your sons are in the industry still, right?
Well, my oldest son is the COO of Vice.
Right.
You know Vice?
Yes.
So his company, they just bought his company. And the middle son is a producer over at Vice in London Alley, which is right around the corner from here. And my youngest son is a composer, Dimitri. He's a great writer.
Amazing.
So he does film and television as well. But he blows me away. He's really, really fast.
And it's amazing to me because I raised kids too, and all of a sudden, when you do a good job, they go off on their own and they have their own lives.
Yeah.
And they don't need daddy anymore.
I miss him. I miss him. You know, this weekend we had this amazing, epic wedding, and they all got on a conference call in the morning to call me yesterday morning, and they were going. We just chatted for a half hour about the wedding and everything, and they all sounded like they were so sad that it was over, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I
was sad.
I had one of those experiences
you get withdrawals
with my
from
kids.
Something like that when it's like just sort of this, magical weekend and all your friends and everything. So.
Right. And so one of your sons lost his house in Pacific Valley. Is that the youngest?
Dimitri.
Yeah?
Dimitri and Greer.
That had to have been an experience. Was he up there during it, or did he evacuate?
It's a good question. What happened was they were going to move. They hadn't moved in. They'd been working on it for like 4 months, 5 months, and did all.
Oh, they hadn't even moved in yet?
Yeah, it was a beautiful home. And he was going to move in that week. And he called me, and he FaceTimed me, and he said, look at this up on the hill. And there was a big plume of smoke. And I said, and it wasn't far from his house. And I said, wow, that does not look good. You might think about getting out of there. Because, the gridlock.
Was he in that area where, remember, they had to take a bulldozer and push all the cars out of the way? A lot of them didn't get the cars out of the way.
I didn't know the area that well, but they were called the Alphabet Streets up there, right above the Palisades Village. Right. Beautiful area. And, I mean, most of those homes were built in the 50s. They weren't, they were fragile, to say the least. And a lot of those people, some of their neighbors were older people that
well, that's a crazy thing. I can say I don't feel like I'm old now, but I feel like I'm old. And I think it would be really hard to start over and build a house from scratch.
Oh, my God. No kidding. Especially if you've been there for 50 years.
I think I would give up. But
first of all, these homes, you buy these homes back then, they were like, tens of thousands of dollars, and all of a sudden they're worth multi-millions.
Right.
My good friend, in fact, the executive producer of Baywatch, the creator of Baywatch, he did have a home on PCH. He lives on PCH, but he was up past Decker Canyon, so he didn't have a problem, and he still lives there. But his home that was right in the center of PCH, gone. And he's going to rebuild.
Really?
Because he had all the pylons. He had a lot of the things in there that they were requiring now. So he can actually go in and
When I first moved back to L.A., I remember looking at a house in Sherman Oaks that was owned by, who was the lead guy from Baywatch?
David Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff.
Oh yeah, I know that house. It looked like the
old-fashioned.
Yeah, it was like Gone with the Wind, right?
Right,
With the big pillars and everything.
My wife and I were going to buy it.
It's
Except
a beautiful house.
I realized he was as weird as I was, because my house is a bunch of antiques that I cut up and remade the house. But his whole house was like that.
Yeah, it was a beautiful place.
It was, and I remember, and that was the time he was going through all of his drinking issues. Tell me the story about Step Brothers, because we had talked about it earlier, where the Step Brothers is when I realized you came back out full-fledged, full-on. It was, we hadn't heard anything from you for a while, and all of a sudden, boom, you're all over everything.
Well, it was my buddy Jonathan Wolfson, who manages Loverboy, and I know you know him. You've had to
Yes.
brought him in. He called me up, and he went to the premiere of Step Brothers. And before that, Sony had called, and they needed a release to use, and they said, Will Ferrell wants to wear this Pablo Cruz shirt. Is it okay? And I said,
no big deal. It's just a release, right?
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was just, it's like, absolutely, it's great. But having no idea really, where it was going to fall in the script or how it was going to be. And then Jonathan went to the premiere, and he called me up, and he said, hey, man, have you seen Step? He goes, I just saw Step Brothers, and Will Ferrell's wearing your T-shirt, your jersey. Then it's the first 10 minutes of the show, and it's bigger than life. And he's a publicist, and he said, if you want, let me run with it. He says, because I can get so much publicity for you. And And I talked to my partner Dave, and I said, "What do you think?" And we said, "Well, let's retain him and bring him on, see what he does." And it was crazy. I mean, you would have thought we put out an album
Yeah,
or
no.
something great. So then down the line, so we ended up playing at the premiere with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly got on stage with us, and we did when they asked us to walk the red carpet. And I was telling you, and Jonathan calls me and he goes, "Are you want to walk the red carpet?" And I said, "Not really. I mean, what are we going to say?" You know, you usually say, "Yeah, we have a new album coming out, or we've done this, or we're going on tour." We didn't. We were barely assembled as a band at that point, and people were asking us, and the guys wanted to do it. So I said, "Okay, let's do it." So we did it, and they're like, "So why are you here?" And I said, "Well, we have a T-shirt in the movie," and it was like really lame, but.
But you and I were talking about earlier. It's funny because I have a lot of friends like Fee Waybell and all those guys, and you realize that when all these people come in from the parking lot wearing the T-shirts they bought out in the parking lot, those are all counterfeits.
Oh yeah,
and the people are so proud of themselves for wearing the T-shirts.
But people, there are businesses that knock this stuff up. You can get any T-shirt you want, you know, online, and it has nothing to do with the original T-shirt or the original group.
And you don't get any cut of that.
No, not at all.
That's amazing.
And I mean, you know,
do you sell a lot of retail at your shows? Because you actually
I don't
perform
carry.
online.
I barely carry
really
merch, and we get asked for it all. It's not an easy thing to carry around,
right?
Because you set it up, and I mean, like if I play your place,
right,
easy. You know, because you can replenish it right then and there. But if you're out on the East Coast and you run out in the first 2 days, then
I think the best one was when I worked with Willie Nelson. He had literally a trailer that he would pull in, and he had screen printer in the trailer.
Yeah,
and he would screen print that like shirts for Agora, or he'd screen print for them as they go.
Yeah.
So you started in when. Like they had studio musicians and there were studio bands because back in 1973, because I say that, and I think I was like probably 10 years old at the time or 11 years old at the time. So during that time, you cranked out 7 albums.
Yeah, from actually 75 to 85.
And then you went on tour, or were you going on tour the whole time?
Even the first album in 75, we opened for Cheech and Chong.
Is that funny?
What a terrible bill that was.
Hey, listen, we had the Bus Boys.
I mean, they were brilliant, but I mean, it was the wrong combination, for us to be opening for that.
Well, remember in the 60s, it was comedians always opening up for Frank Sinatra, for all these guys.
Yeah, and that's when we were on tour and we were headlining. We had a comedian touring with us, a guy named Bob Duback. I don't know if you've ever worked with Bob. Very funny guy.
No, but I know those guys are like the warm-up acts, and I know...
He was out with us for a long time, and the funny thing that I remember about Bob is he was also a magician, so he had a couple of
magic shows,
doves, like white doves, and when we first started, the doves were like had all their feathers, and by the end of the tour, they were practically bald. They looked like they'd been out on the road.
So when you were out there and you were attempting to do all of these, like you reformed the band a bunch of times.
Yeah, well, we added some players. I mean, Pablo Cruz. I mean, truth be told, Pablo Cruz was like a 3-legged dog. I mean, we had personnel problems right off the bat. In fact, our first hit song went into the top 10, and our bass player Bud Cockrell calls me up and he said, "A&M's giving me my own deal," which was unbelievable. We were on A&M. They spent a ton of money to get us in the top 10, and then they give the other lead singer his own deal. So he left. I was listening to KFRC, Dave Scholl in San Francisco, and I'm with our manager, and we popped the top 10, and literally the phone rang, and Bud goes, "Hey, Cory, I hate to do this, man, but because remember the band It's a Beautiful Day?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Whitebird.
Right.
So he married the gal that sang Whitebird. And so she wanted him to be in her band. And so that the pressure was on. He didn't have a choice. So he left, and so we had to scramble because all of a sudden the phone started to ring.
Right. And when knowing you all this time, I always looked at you as you made your career more off of writing and composing. And being in the band was what made you famous, but a lot of people didn't realize.
The Dave Jenkins and myself wrote all the Pablo Cruz stuff.
Right. And you guys have been together for the whole time.
Yeah, he's still out there.
And I only know you now because you're one of the iconic bands that play the Canyon. And we also, now that we have the Dolby and the Saban and all of these others, it makes me now think of packaging and stuff. Because now we have, like, Peter Beckett's out there with Player, but he's not really with Player.
No,
he's doing his own thing.
Ambrosia, right?
Right.
And they play all his songs.
Yeah.
Ambrosia does a cool thing because they have not only Peter, but they also have a couple other singers that have hits. And, so they back those guys. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah. So you tried to get together in 1985. Then in 1996, you went out again. And then you all came together at Steve Price's wedding. That's
right.
And then you actually had a new song out in 2015.
Yeah, I put out a
If I could change anything,
it would be you. I wrote a bunch of.
That caught my attention.
Yeah,
but, I was like, it's not a love song, obviously.
No, it's the quintessential love song. But no, I put a little EP out with a bunch of more comedic lyrics, and I still write that stuff. I love, because I feel like at this point in my life, I mean, the world does not need another love song, nor do they care. So when when you do something like that.
Well, the more amazing thing is I found out you wrote the CBS.
Wrote the CBS.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That like that, dun, dun, dun. And it just, to me, that was you.
And I had a partner. We had a music company called Lerios Music and Music Works, and the same guys that were doing the Stars logos and DirecTV and all that were, this guy was a good buddy of mine, and he'd call me, and he threw so much work at us that way.
It just amazed me because I didn't know people actually got hired to do that stuff, and it's such iconic stuff that.
It's actually there's a. They never had music like NBC. NBC, bum, bum, bum. They had that forever, and they still do. But CBS did not have any sound on their logo.
You did DirecTV, you did TNT, you did Stars Network, CBS.
Yeah, CBS. All we had at one point. Everything CBS played, the interstitial music.
So when you're sitting at home and you're watching TV, you go, "I wrote that."
It's still on. It's all the time.
I know. But do you say I wrote that?
Yeah, I tell Maria, Maria, I wrote that. She goes, I know you wrote it. Okay,
leave me alone now.
Yeah, no, it's kind of the gift that keeps giving too. So it's because they'll never stop playing it. I don't think.
It is so amazing to me that you wrote those things, because to me, you never think about that's actually a business. And people make
logos and promos,
right?
Huge.
I mean, the 2.5 Men is the jingles.
You know the theme from Jeopardy.
Yeah.
You know who wrote that, right?
No.
Merv Griffin wrote that. Merv created those shows.
I know he created all those shows.
So they just published the revenue that one bum 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 bum, that little melody. $74 million today.
Really?
And it's just a little jingle.
And every time you hear everything that he's cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
Well, yeah, Merv was a smart man. I mean, he created those two shows, and they've been on
forever.
But
I think of Baywatch. Every time I watch Baywatch, that's you.
Yeah, so the great thing about Baywatch is Baywatch, we started in the first season was 1989, and it was on NBC. And so NBC ran it for a season, and they didn't renew it. But because of Hasselhoff in Europe, he was like Elvis Presley in Germany.
In Germany,
still is.
Yeah.
Huge. So the show took off in Europe. It was all over Europe. And so Greg Bonin called me up after it was canceled. He said, look, hang tight. He goes, I'm going to pay you half of what the network's paying you, but you'll have a job for life. And so what they did is they started their own studio. They went and basically started what was like syndicated TV. And they went in and got their own huge, giant, sound stage and everything, and produced the whole things themselves, and then sold it all over the world. And so the show was on in like 150 countries. With Baywatch, what happened was they had a lot of we had montages in every show, like 2 or 3 montages. That's where the slow-mo thing came from, and the beautiful girls running down the beach to a great hit song.
Right.
And they were all big hits. It was Seal, it was the Beach Boys, the Eagles, but they were really short licenses. So when the show went off the air, they couldn't put it back on the air because they couldn't afford the licenses for those songs. It was a fortune. So they hired me in 2017
to rewrite everything.
Not to rewrite, to replace all the montage songs, because the underscore, which I did with my partners, stayed. But they
couldn't play the Eagles song because they couldn't afford the license.
No, so I got about 35 writers, young writers around here in Los Angeles, and they, I'd give them the montage, and I'd say, okay, here's good vibrations. Don't steal it, but
get close.
The vibe, get in there with it.
Right.
And it was amazing it was amazing how it worked out, because when I was in the meeting and they said, well, do you think you can do it? And it was like blind faith. Yeah, I think I could do it. I didn't know if I could do it, but we got it done, and then they resold the show all over the world again.
And yours was the permanent one that was in there every time.
Well, my underscore was in there, and
right.
I wrote the main title theme, which was in there. But all these new songs, it was enlightening for these young kids, because the thing is, a lot of these kids today, young writers are, I call it, all dressed up and no place to go. They have studios, they got all the stuff, all the equipment, all the plugins, everything to make a record, but they don't have a job.
Right. And that's hard, because the only other person that I know that did what you did was Mike Wolf. Right, Mike Wolf? Is it Mike Wolf?
Mike Wolf. You mean
who's the guy that did SVSU?
Dick Wolf.
Dick Wolf.
Was it Dick Wolf?
Another Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was a wolf. So, but I did realize that's when I realized that this was really a money-making venture, that you can actually do this, because to me, how do bands make money? They go out on tour. Do you make your money off the record label? Do you make your money off the tour? Because nowadays, everyone on tour is making their money off tours.
Yeah, but nowadays the labels are doing these 360 deals, which
right.
didn't exist when I signed with A&M. A&M just, they wanted the royalties from the records and the publishing and all that. But now they're taking part of your tour, part of your merchandise, part of anything that your name has to do with that they promoted. So it's
so
tough.
Luckily, if they had done you, then you would have more Pablo Cruz T-shirts out there. You'd be at Hot Topic.
Yeah, there you go.
Welcome back to from the Kettle One studio, where music meets the soul. I'm here with Cory. And here we go, Lerios.
That was it.
Yeah, I'm so proud of myself. I've known you for 10 years, and now I can finally pronounce your name, but I never had access to say
Never actually had to.
Never had to say your last name before. So we were just talking, and we were talking about your 43-year marriage, and we were also talking about how do you see that? Like, it seems like you just get this new life all the time. And now the yacht rock seems to be the hottest radio item, because even in my Tesla, they have a yacht rock station.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting thing, because a buddy of mine, Van Toffler, he used to be head of Comcast and also MTV. And he did a documentary called Sometimes When We Touch, which was all about yacht rockers and soft rockers. And he called me up and he said, "Would you mind being, doing something for this? But would you mind being,
The face?
no, not the face, just if we refer to Pablo Cruz as a yacht rock band." And I said, "Hey, I'm happy to refer to Pablo Cruz to anything, But the thing that was funny is he said, a lot of people don't like it. They take offense. They feel like, it's kind of puts you in this pigeonholes you in a way."
Well, it's funny because when I first saw Yacht Rock, I think of you, and then all of a sudden I see now Ambrosiu and then Player, and I see them stretching.
Yeah, and it did fall into the soft rock. I mean, it was like Christopher Cross, all those bands that were sailing. I mean, who could be more yacht rock than him? And Pablo Cruz, Cruse, and like I said, our headquarters was a boat, a ship. I mean, a sailboat. And so, yeah, it fit for me. I didn't have a problem with it at all. I don't have a problem.
I thought your name was Pablo Cruz. That when, for the first 10 years of your band, we all thought the lead singer's name was Pablo Cruz. Yeah. And when you Google him, Pablo. I'm a New Yorker.
You're from New York.
I butcher everything.
That's okay. I'm just giving you shit. But no, it was misconstrued. But a lot of the bands.
But what is yacht rock? Is it just soft, easy listening rock?
I think that's what it is.
Because they also call Michael McDonald yacht rock.
No, it's guys with a martini on a yacht, listening to this, wonderful soft music with non-offensive lyrics, and always we used to say, is it positive, affirmative, or how's the song? Is it a PA song? It's positive, affirmative song.
Really?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we were making waves. I mean, we weren't writing, protest tunes, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then
But I mean, I just did a whole run with Pure Prairie League and Firefall, and it was it's a yacht rock, collection, and it's a great show. The three bands and the music just works together.
What is your favorite? Like when you go and play, what gets you excited? When you play with a bunch of other yacht rock guys, or when you're playing at a fair, big crowds, little crowds, intimate crowds? Because I know when you play the Canyon Club, when we look out in the crowd, we know 90% of the people that are in the crowd.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But I like the smaller venues these days. I mean, the big venues are fun and but they're way less, intimate. So you can really work a room. You can really have fun with a room. If it's a smaller room, and especially, if it's a room, especially if it's sold out. And
because you get to play where you want to play.
Kind of.
And that's kind of cool. I like that better because I always wonder. I do concerts, and I know the bigger the place, the easier it is to make money. The smaller the place, the harder it is to make money. But I still like the small places because that's when I get the feeling of what it's like. And you talk to people, and you're there.
No, you can really play with the audience. We open the show, and the first thing we say to the audience is, Pablo Cruz has rules these days, and whatever you do, please don't rush the stage, because we can't take that anymore. And then we talk about people do try to rush the stage, and they get stuck trying to get up on the stage.
And our stage is only 30 inches tall. And they have to on it.
And I said it totally screws the rhythm of our show because we're personable people, so we get up and try to help you off the stage.
We've had the 30-inch stages. We had Cheap Trick there probably like 10 years ago, and it was on New Year's Eve.
At the Canyon?
Yeah. And some guy went on stage, and the guitar tech punched him. And I got sued for it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, because that's the only problem having
an aggressive guitar tech.
Yeah, a 30-inch stage, and that's where currently now, because now it's funny because we do a lot of the younger people like Too Short, and we have a guy named Sugar Free.
Yeah, I've heard of Sugar Free.
Yeah, and it's funny because we had still the same thing.
Yeah, he's playing. Isn't he playing there?
He's playing coming up here soon. And, we have Peter Beckett. Like, we get our normals. Like, you play hopefully once a year at each of the venues. And I like Gino Vanelli does it, and John Waite does
Did
it.
Gino already play, or is he coming?
Gino's coming, and he usually comes up. He's a Canadian.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny because Gino's one of those, we've known his family for a long time. His
Yeah,
family's,
Ross.
Right. His family's been involved with Tower of Power and all kinds of stuff. And it's funny how a lot of musicians are like that. Like, I think all of these musicians talk to each other. I mean, you guys have fun when you're with your other.
Well, I did a fair share of stuff with Joe too, Vanelli.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Joe, they're amazing guys though. I mean, Gino was always, kind of just this, kind of rock god kind of guy.
It's funny because I used to pick up Gino from the airport, and I also used to pick up Buddy Guy. And B.B. King would always be someone that we'd go out. And I think that's kind of what I miss the most, because then it was like I saw B.B. King or Gino, I would see him once a year, and that was his family and his friends, where he would go out and see these people once a year. And it's like that with B.B. King.
We did one of these cruises with him last year with Gino, was on the cruise. It's called the... what is it? The Rock and Romance Cruise.
Isn't that funny? Roger's the one that started doing those cruises, and it's brilliant. Do they pay well? And what do you do? Play one time and then?
It depends.
Joy?
We do 2 shows, but it's amazing because the people that go to those things, they'll book all of them because there's a bunch of them.
Really?
There's the Rock and Romance, and then there's the what is it? The Moody Blues cruise, and then there's the heavy metal cruise.
Well, we used to do that because my partners were the Richardsons in Vegas, and they had owned Excalibur and the Mandalay Bay and stuff. And I used to see all the residencies and how it was magicians, and then now it's kind of converted now to like Boys to Men.
Yeah.
Have you ever been offered one of those?
I'm doing one in March.
Really?
Another one, yeah. I don't know who all's on it, but I mean, I know Ambrosia's on it, and I know it's a lot of the same guys. Last one was...
and they're doing a residency where they're going to be there for a while?
Oh, you're talking about a residency.
Yeah, because my dream is when you're driving to Vegas, that bankrupt Terribles, I want to buy that and just make it into a rock and roll place.
We haven't done a resident. The closest thing is when we were at the top of the charts, we played Sahara Tahoe, and we did like 3. We ended up doing a residency actually, and we broke a lot of records. We broke Elvis Presley's record there for sales.
Really?
Believe it or not, and it was an amazing weekend, and and then they brought us on to play, weekly, and it was really tough because we did 2 shows a night, and
that's got to be hard because then it goes from enjoyable
yeah, man. The first
to...
show's always the best, and then you go the second. But I mean, and also, the casinos, they paper those rooms too.
So,
they put people in.
So not sadly, luckily, you were married during your entire touring schedule.
No, I wasn't. I started touring in, I started touring in the early 70s.
And when did you get married?
I got married in 82.
82.
And that's when I made the decision to not tour. A couple of years later, I just...
And that's where the other lead singer kind of went off on his own. And
he tried to keep the band going, but
he did.
I didn't want to be it. I mean, I was either going to stay married or not.
No, I agree with that. I
wanted to raise my kids, So.
And you did a good job at that one.
Thank you. Yeah. So there were, but the good news was I could write for TV and film, so that kept me in the studio all the time.
Well, it's funny.
And that's a totally different regimen. I mean, we'd make a record every 2 years in a studio. I mean, in TV, you got to make, 30, 40 minutes of music inside of 4 or 5 days.
So you were doing themes, not jingles.
No, I was doing underscore mostly.
Explain what underscore means.
Well, underscore is when it's action music. It's
so basically
when
watching the
Hasselhoff
show
would
and
jump in the water and save somebody's life, you were writing music to accompany that.
And that's a business.
It's a business. It's a great
huge business, and And like,
I mean, back in the day when when the networks were cranking, I mean, TV music was, that's why Mike Post has planes and you know,
yeah,
he was
he-
right there.
and that was the first
then,
time I was introduced to him. He owned Sportsman's Lodge.
Yeah,
And I
but
was
he
like,
was the man. I mean, he wrote so many things, and he's great. But the thing was, is he also went in with a live band. I mean, when we were doing it, was pretty much electronic.
Right.
So the producers would come down to the studio and say, "Let me hear the score. Let me see what you guys are doing." But when Mike was doing it, when those guys were
when
doing
you're
it,
doing that, are you playing all the instruments yourself? Or
pretty
is it-
much, yeah. No, I bring in guitar players and singers and things like that. But the whole digital world it's so great now. I mean, back when the first show I told you, the first show I did was Max Headroom. Very complicated technically to do that, and I did it up in Sausalito. Show was produced and most of it was filmed in L.A. And they used to send me what are called spotting notes, and the spotting notes were, so at this particular, time in 1 hour, 30 minutes, 25 seconds, that's where the cue starts and that's where it ends. So they'd send them, but they sent them via modem. Did you ever do anything?
I remember modems.
And so you'd sit in the office waiting, and they'd go,
Yeah.
and it'd kick out these notes for 3-4 hours.
Could you imagine us telling our kids about TRS-80s and Radio Shack computers? And that's what we lived off of. And remember, because we lived through, originally it was a tape, and then it changed to CD-ROMs, and then it changed to, floppy disks and CD-ROMs. And it's crazy when I remember we used to watch VHS, and then it was Betamax, and then and now Laserdisc. And now you think about that, I think I have 10,000 DVDs, and I don't think I have a DVD player anymore.
Yeah, I think you're not alone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's evolved so much. I mean, because my son Dimitri, who's, working all the time. I mean, he travels a lot, and he'll go and he can be in Europe, and he has a laptop that's fully loaded, and it's his whole studio. It's like everything you need to write music is right there. I mean, we used to carry, massive amounts of equipment around.
Well, because I'd like to ask you, like, in the time Pablo Cruz was famous, what did Apple Music mean to you guys? Because I remember some people loved it, and to me it kind of ruined the world because I was that guy that would buy albums. Like when you used to buy Apple Music and you would buy the songs one at a time, iTunes.
I mean iTunes, Apple, yeah.
And even today, like, I'm the guy that bought 10,000 songs. So I have a huge collection of songs of every song that I like. But now they keep trying to have me give it back to them, so they'll give me free Apple Music for 3 months. So, but really? I'm curious on your end, how did you see that? Was that a payday, or you never were concerned about that?
You know what? The thing is by the time that stuff came out, our ship had sailed in terms of, really sales, records. We sold
typical,
a lot of records back in the day, but I mean, it was relevant, and it was also stuff that was being played all the time. And so, and your fan base moves on.
I find it funny because I've been around for so long that, like, REO Speedwagon, to thank me, he gave me one of those platinum records.
Right.
And I think to myself, that's not even out there anymore, is it?
Well, yeah, no, it is. It's a different kind of, achievement. I mean, when the guys that are really cleaning up are the guys that are getting, billions of streams.
Right.
I mean, if you look at The Weeknd, or you look at, Bruno Mars, and I mean, the numbers are insane.
But is that real money? Because can you tell?
It definitely is.
But you got to trust Google.
But you got to get up
trusting?
into the stratus to make that kind of money. I mean,
but who are you trusting to make sure you get paid?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, in this case, it's generally Spotify,
right?
That logs it. So if you go on Spotify and you say, how many monthly average listeners, not downloads.
Oh, listeners.
You don't buy music on Spotify. Spotify is streaming. right? And so, if you look at some of these guys, I mean, they have like, I don't know, 102 billion people watching them,
right,
listening to them.
And how much money do you make from that kind of stuff? Because I remember, like, the big thing was, the old system was, you wrote a thing, you put out an album, and then the album you got in advance for it, and then the record label made their money back.
That's when there was protocol,
right?
But these days it really is all about streaming, and so if you look at the monthly averages of some of these artists, like
it's
Katy
brilliant.
Perry and people,
it's brilliant because it's not a one-time wonder. When I was buying Apple Music, I bought the song, and you didn't make any more money off me. So
but
now,
if I stream it, is a single could break, domestically in the United States, and if it was in the top 5 in the United, but this now it's worldwide. Because of streaming. It's like because of Spotify. So you get a hit song now, if it's really a big hit, it's all over the world,
Right. And what freaked me out, like we have these bands that come in, and you don't realize, like, there's a band called Venice, which is
I know who they are. I love those guys.
Right, but they're like in Europe and in Japan, they're filling like small amphitheaters.
Yeah.
And they're hugely popular. I mean, I watched the show, and I kind of appreciate them because
they're like more like a surf band, right? I mean, we're kind of a lighter band.
Yeah,
yeah.
But that's where, like, they play for us, and they always do super well. But no one kind of knows who they are.
Yeah.
And we have done an amazing job, like at the Saban, with doing, shows out, not American shows. You know what I mean? We can do Filipino shows, or we do those, and they're always easier to communicate with. They're always easier to get done.
Yeah.
So going back, and you picturing, what was the biggest, most important rock star moment you had, where you realized when you're sitting in front of 10,000 people?
Do you mean aside from this interview? Oh, you know
yes,
what?
you've made it now that you're interviewing with the Canyon Club manager.
You got to know. Yeah. Now you got to. The thing about it is, it's almost surreal that when you actually get a hit, because you're in the studio, you're making records, and you think every single song's a hit. Because if it has a good hook, it has a good, a good chorus, and it's like, oh, this is a hit, this is a hit, and this is a hit. And then when you actually do. And it's complicated back then. It was AM radio for one thing,
right?
So AM radio, and we had all these parallel stations, across the country. And if you got parallel 1 stations, and the record started to break, it really was. It was surreal because the whole thing was amazing because things opened up in such a big way, and.
But the avenues to be famous were so confined.
Yeah, you did. We did Merv Griffith and Mike Douglas and Dinah Shore, all these shows which had limited viewing,
right.
But that was really the way to do it, which is what I'm saying about, like, you get a hit now, if you have a hit in Europe on YouTube, it's endless. It's worldwide. It's like it's not regional. It's not like we broke in San Francisco or we broke in L.A. You break worldwide if it's I'm talking about a big record.
What do you travel internationally now?
Not so much. Shows? We had a very a lot of success over in Japan, and so that's pretty much where we've been since we put the band back together. And I want to go back to Tokyo, but we play like the Blue Note.
Oh, in Japan?
Yeah, I mean that's
been there for that. The Blue Note's famous. But
back in the day, we were playing the really big venues there, and the Japanese people loved.
Well, I remember when we started House of Blues that everybody said, "Well, that can't work. You're never going to get these big bands to play a lousy, 1,300 seat theater." And even like with the Foo Fighters, I think Dave had more fun playing the Canyon Club than he plays when he's playing in stadiums.
Like we said earlier, it's a lot more intimate. You can get a lot closer to the audience, especially if the audience is right up there. When you're in a stadium or you're in a big venue, you can't really even see the audience sometimes. And
my favorite thing was,
big difference.
I don't know if you know this, when you play and I'm there, I usually will stand on stage by your sound guys. And I love that feeling because it must mimic how you feel, because when you're singing, everybody out in the audience has a smile on their face. They're reliving the best parts of their life. And you can see that and feed off that joy. And that's what I believe being a performer, that's what you get off on.
It is.
You know.
It is.
Being a businessman,
it's definitely one
I
of the
look at it like that's $1.50, that's $1.50, that's $1.50.
You see numbers.
Yeah. And all my friends that are performers, they have this delusional concept of how much money we make. Because from the restaurant portion, they think, oh, it's $100 ticket. They think I made $100 times 1,300 people.
Right.
They don't realize the band made
I mean,
that.
I don't know what the margins are, but I think they probably.
Right. And well, that's right now. The biggest thing is the number one way to make money is off facility fees and service charges. And, because nowadays the liquor expenses and the food expenses and the labor expenses make it infeasible to actually have like a canyon club where you have to come up, and that's why we got involved at Dolby and the Saban and the.
Well, yeah, you've been very successful doing that. When I started, when I really first started, I was 17 years old. My father had passed away when I was 16, and one of his good buddies said, "If there's anything I can do for you, let me know." He said, "I'd love to help you with something," and I did have a band, and I said, "I'd like to open my own club. So you will like this."
Oh.
So I went up to Tahoe with him, this friend of mine, and we found an old outdoorsman sports shop in a brand new shopping center that was owned by the heir to Singer Sewing Machine, and he was a young guy. And I went up to him and I said, "Can I rent the place for 3 months?" 3 months,
Really?
for the summer. And we put on dances. It was teenage nightclub. And just to give you an idea, no liability insurance, no security, nothing. We just went up, put up a PA, a couple stages, and I had like everybody in the Bay Area wanted to come. I mean, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham had a band. They came and played for like $200 a night.
Ignorance is bliss, isn't it?
It was, but it was the best time. And I only wanted to do it so I could ski.
I remember in 1981 I used to do Red Cup parties. So what we would do is I went to U of A. And I would go get, a couple kegs of beer. I would get the pumps, hand pumps for the beer, and then I would sell cups for $2 or $3. And I would sell like 200-300 cups, and then I would pack up and leave. And then the cops would show up. Who's in charge? And everybody's like, I don't know.
There's things that we could get away with. But what I was going to say,
but still today, all these EDM things, they're still doing these illegal house parties.
Oh, yeah.
That are out there, and they have no insurance. There's nothing. But
it was unbelievable. We had never had a problem.
Right.
For the whole summer.
Until the lawyers figured you out.
Then I opened a second club up there. I merged with another guy the next summer, and now I'm 18, and everybody like Santana, Power, all these guys would come up, and Santana played there before Woodstock. 2 weeks before Woodstock, paid him $2,500 for the weekend.
Wow,
that's how great it was.
Hey, listen, I paid Genesis, I think $6,000.
Yeah,
$6,000. What do they get, $1 million now?
Well, at least.
Yeah. Well,
but it sure has evolved, and in many ways, in good ways, and in many ways, it's just become, really rough. The people that I really am sorry for is a lot of young new artists. And how tough it is to get anything going, because there's no protocol. I mean,
it's different because my wife, Karen, which I know you know really well, she works with these people, and like she's doing theater right now, but you were 100% right. She's got this Brooklyn Pitts. She sings, she's the new Whitney Houston. When I heard her sing, it was dumbfounded with her voice. But I don't know how you become famous today.
Well, back when we started, there was protocol. A label would give you 3 hours to do a demo. You never saw a studio. Now you can make a demo in your car.
Yeah, I know.
But
I remember that.
You get 3 hours to go to CBS or Capitol or whatever, do a demo, And if they liked it, then they'll start throwing a little more money at you and start building it. And then they'd build and they'd support you and tour. They support it. None of that happens now for a new artist.
It's crazy.
It's all on their own. Even you go to play, I don't know if you do it at your clubs, but some of these like Hotel Cafe and stuff, how many people can you bring in? You need to sell
nowadays
tickets.
you don't even know anymore because you need to have a permit. You need to have a live entertainment permit. So, but thank you so much, Cory, for coming in live from the Kettle One Studios. We appreciate you, and I can call you a friend, and I'm a fan.
Well, thank you so much, Lance. This is really nice. I didn't realize you were such a mogul here.
Mogul or moron?
Didn't say moron. I didn't realize because you mentioned this to me a while ago.
I did.
The show, but this is great.
Well, I appreciate you, and I appreciate everything you do for us. And we need to all start bothering him because we need to book him at the Canyon and at the Saban and in Oxnard again.
You know what place I loved playing, it was in Ojai, your amphitheater.
You know what's funny? The Ojai, I'll just go over there real quick. Every time a city gets involved, they're always trying to give money to their friends. And it's very difficult to deal with people like that. And Ojai, you're right.
That was a beautiful venue.
You know, we did close to 200 concerts there, sold out, did well, and the city just went into a different direction, wanting not popular bands. I had never heard that before in my life. We don't want popular bands. We want local bands. And
Is that just a traffic or too much? You were selling.
Yeah,
too
I
many
think the
tickets
businesses. I think the businesses loved it, but I think the city, it was difficult for them because you're right that. You know, I know we make more money for the Wisdom Center than we make. But again, thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime you want, and let's get a date on the books, Lou, for Pablo Cruz.